Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Colin Cowherd podcast. Go on, hit the subscribe button. There you go, right down there. If you want to be among the first to hear my weekly takes, NFL, college football, more, right there. All right, instant reaction, baby. Well, I thought Michigan was going to win, and I had said going into the game, I just don't think they're gifted at wide receiver. So, Alabama was going to crowd the box, make them throw because they didn't respect them over the top. And that's kind of what happened. And despite multiple special team gaffes by Michigan, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. They won 27-20. When it was going to overtime, I felt like this is Michigan's game. They're going to run the ball, better quarterback. They're not having snap issues. Let's be honest about Alabama. 4 yards of play, 116 yards passing, multiple bad snaps, bad on third down, a quarterback who's very, very limited, and a coach who's a defensive coach in an offensive era. Michigan, far more yards, better in overtime, NFL quarterback, had a really bad third quarter, but Michigan dominated the first half of play. I mean, Alabama had just barely over 90 yards. So Michigan dominates the first half, that tying drive and overtime. And I think Alabama had an amazing third quarter and made some real adjustments. But I thought in the first half, Alabama was completely overwhelmed, surrendered 5 sacks, didn't have time to throw, multiple bad snaps. They were a mess. First half was embarrassing for Alabama. Now, Michigan was a very solid special teams program. Every time I watched this year, I didn't watch every game. I watched 7 Michigan games, 6 or 7. I don't know what happened with their special teams. I've never seen anything like that. It would be like a great receiver just having 6 drops. We knew Michigan's receivers were limited. We knew that. Their receivers, including the illegal block on that game-tying drive, we knew that was a weakness of this team, the receiving unit. I never thought I'd see anything like that with special teams, and they overcome and they win. So they dominate the first half. They're the better team in overtime, and despite multiple gaffes on special teams, they win. Listen, Alabama beat a Georgia team that if they played again, I'd take Georgia. Georgia's tight end, their best player, one of their best receivers were banged up, and Georgia just didn't play with a ton of energy. And Bama came in and deserved that game and deserved to win. I have nothing but respect for Nick Saban, who went undefeated in the SEC. But I never felt Alabama was a great team. Usually with a national championship team, you watch them, and about week 5 or 6, you're like, okay, they look different. And I felt that about Michigan this year. I didn't think they were a perfect team, but they have an NFL quarterback, a Super Bowl coach, a dominant offensive line, great pass rush, excellent backs, solid tight ends. NFL players, 18. I thought about week 4 or 5, you're like, yeah, Michigan looks like a team that could win the national championship. I thought Texas looked like that when they dominated Alabama physically. They just looked bigger and stronger. I didn't think that with Washington. I still don't know if that's Washington, but I never once looked at Bama and thought, that's a national championship team. They're bad regularly at quarterback. Like Jalen Milroe is not an NFL quarterback. He's an athlete, but he's not an NFL level quarterback. So it's when I look at Alabama, I saw them get rolled at home late in the second half against Texas. I thought they were pushed around in this game. I watched the Auburn game, and I thought Auburn was the better team that Saturday. Milroe just made a great play late. They were the better team. So I never felt like Alabama was a national championship team. I talked to Urban Meyer on FS1 today, and he got stuff into my head, and I'm like, man, did I make the bad bet? Oh boy, I don't know how I feel about this. But in the end, I think Michigan was the better team. Took a while to figure it out. And again, I thought when it went to overtime, I'm like, this is don't go for 2. Don't go for 2 when you score the touchdown. Don't do it unless you've got some clever play dreamed up. Get to overtime. Michigan was not struggling regularly with snaps. I just felt like Alabama, it's amazing that Alabama had all this time and struggled with protection in the first half, snaps, just kind of remedial stuff from your offense. Now, special teams are different. A lot of college special teams coaches, you don't get scholarships. They don't give out scholarships. Some don't even give scholarships out for kickers. Many do, some don't. So when special teams go sideways, it's a lot of backups. You're talking about kickers and punters. These are backup players, third string guys that make their mark, often on special teams. So, college special teams in my lifetime, if I said to you, best college quarterback ever, best college defense, best college offense, you'd have a list. If I said best college special teams, they're mostly shaky. They really are. Most college special teams are, you hold your breath. I remember when Pete Carroll had USC's dynasty. I don't remember one fake kick. I mean, they were just pedestrian. They were like, listen, we'll outplay on both ends. We just don't want to lose games on special teams. And that's how a lot of great programs look at it, unless they get a great kicker. But I thought Michigan was the better team. I don't think they're an all-time great team. I think they're an all-time good team. They're one of the better Big Ten teams I've seen. But I thought the SEC this year, I thought the last 2 years, Georgia lost so many players to the NFL that it eventually catches up to you. I do like Beck, their quarterback. I think he can really sling it. He's got a rope. I really like him. I think he can play in the NFL. But I didn't think Georgia was quite as good at wide receiver, quite as dominant defensively, and Alabama beat them. And I never thought Alabama looked like a national championship contender this year. I just never did. So I think the right team won. College football fans, I'm getting chills. The championship games are here. DraftKings Sportsbook is making sure it's easy for you to throw down some cash on this epic battle. Big bucks. So new customers score $150 instantly in bonus bets by just betting $5 on the championship game. Now the code, download the app, takes under 2 minutes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Very easy. Put in the code Colin, COLIN. These games are so much fun. You can bet 10, 5, 20. It doesn't matter. It's so much fun. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. The code is Colin, COLIN. New customers, $150 instantly by betting just $5 on the championship game. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, our partner at the volume. We love them. Code is Colin, COLIN. The crown is yours. Listen, we've all had fender benders in our life. Sometimes it's even more serious. But even if it's somebody else's mistake, you can lean on Morgan & Morgan. It's the nation's largest injury law firm. 100 offices and over 800 lawyers. With over $15 billion, that's a B, billion dollars recovered, Morgan & Morgan has a proven track record of fighting for you to get full and fair compensation. Submit an injury claim with Morgan & Morgan. It's really, really easy. It's almost like a quarterback, an offensive head coach, and a GM that gets some good weapons makes their life easier. We all need somebody, good or bad days, to make our life a little easier. That's what Morgan & Morgan does. If you're ever injured, check out Morgan & Morgan. Their fee is free unless they win. For more information, go to forthepeople.com/Colin or dial pound LAW, that's pound 529 from your cell phone. This is a paid advertisement. Adding Oregon and Washington, if those coaches remain, you're adding 2 top 10 teams. Adding USC, Lincoln Riley will figure out. They'll get the defense right. The Big Ten with 3 different time zones is going to now be the conference of record going forward. Saban's eventually going to retire. Georgia will be great. I don't deny that. But much of the SEC games, many of them cannibalize each other because the conference is overwhelmingly in one time zone. So the games will all be basically in that one time zone. By adding West Coast teams, Midwest teams, Northeast teams, 3 time zones, you're going to be able to stagger broadcast, the marketing, the recruiting. Now it's NIL. Those northern cities, those northern boosters have big time money, not just car dealership money. Watch out. I think Texas, with their ability and their economy, the Texas economy is by far and away the biggest in the SEC footprint. It's a monster economy, and Texas has some of the richest boosters. I think if you asked me today if Sark's stayed around, I would say going forward, Georgia, and Texas would be a handful of the SEC. But Michigan won 27-20. It is a team that has an absolute identity. It's a power football team with a coach with almost a physical presence in Jim Harbaugh. They're resilient. They're tough. The right team won. And by the way, on that fourth down play by Alabama, you knew it and I knew it. Everybody in the stadium knew it. Jalen Milroe was going to keep that ball. Did you watch Michigan's defense? They had like 8 guys around the line of scrimmage. That was the most predictable play call by Alabama in the entire game. I was literally screaming at the TV. Milroe is going. I think Michigan players were pointing. My feeling was the Michigan players knew exactly what Alabama was going to do. It was just, listen, J.J. McCarthy for Michigan, when you get down to the goal line, Blake Corum can run. They can play power football. McCarthy rolls out. He can throw. Great tight end. Alabama's offense basically was Milroe running. That's another reason I didn't like Bama in overtime. Much more predictable offense that struggled with snaps. But that fourth down call, I think everybody in the Rose Bowl knew what Bama was doing, including Michigan. All right, let's go watch the Huskies and the Horns.